Yeah, we start off with the sedition and treason, of course. Could I have some sedition with a side of treason, please? And, oh boy, this has been one of the big stories this week. And again, it's just another one of these Democrat things that they love to do. They take something, they blow it completely out of proportion. Meanwhile, they were the ones really doing the nasty part of the whole situation. And then they try to blame Trump and call him, tyrannical or some kind of a megalomaniac. And, well, it turns out that they believe Donald Trump has threatened their lives. And by they, I mean these Democrats that have that were part of this video. There it is. Part of this videotape. This video, this is my age, that, they were telling the American military, people in the American military and the intelligence divisions, that they didn't have to follow the president's orders. If they deemed them illegal in some way, that they were well within their bounds and rights to just not listen to the commander-in-chief, the guy, the president, who has the final word over what the American military does. And it's not like Trump has been saying, hey, let's bomb China for COVID. I would agree with that. But it's drugs coming into our country and drug boats being blown up. Who wouldn't be for that? When you see the young people, especially, that have just been ravaged by the influx of drugs, fentanyl especially, into this country, opiates. It's amazing that anyone would be against the president and his administration trying anything. We're at the point where extreme measures have to be taken. I don't think a lot of the people, especially on the left, understand extreme measures. Sometimes it's not worth sitting around and debating this stuff for years and years and passing the buck and nothing gets done. Sometimes a real leader has to make a decision and then follow through with it. Could you imagine if Harry Truman had to decide to drop the atomic bombs on Japan to end World War II? And in this day and age, with all of the Budinskis and wanting to, talk about it? Have a little conversation, a debate, a public forum? Instead of him just getting, hey, do you want to go with this? And him going, yup, let's drop it. Nothing that this country needed to do to get to the point where America became a great nation would ever have been accomplished if these whining bureaucrats had their way back in the olden days. So, yeah, things have to be done. And the president can utilize the military to do things that are in the best interest of this country and this country's safety. And if you really want to look into what presidents have utilized the military for their own benefit and that for actions that were absolutely had nothing to do with the safety or best interest of the people of the United States, you could, there are plenty of presidents you could look at and say, well, why didn't the military, members of the military say, I think those orders are illegal. President Obama, President George W. Bush, President George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan. I think those orders are illegal, and I will not be participating in your, why are you tying me to a pole? Why are you pointing rifles at me? Yeah. How about that? How about a little desertion? Oh, my God. And if the politicians, senators, congressmen in this country are instructing the military to not obey the president, and they're not even giving instances. I think one of them did. Who was that, Klobuchar? Oh, this was embarrassing. Embarrassing. Because they've been asking, any reporter worth their salt has been asking these Democrats, what illegal orders has the president given that would compel you to make this video? Unless he's done something, why would you just pull this out and decide to instruct the military to not follow the president's orders? And Amy Klobuchar, she says, she goes, well, there was that movie where they didn't obey the order because it was illegal. A movie? What are you talking about? What was that one? I believe it was the one with Jack Nicholson. You can't handle the truth. Whatever that movie was. Yeah. And she's taking movie references as her reasoning, as her reason for telling the military that they don't have to obey the president if they believe an order is illegal. And again, who's deciding that? A soldier? Have soldiers gone through all the constitutional law schools to understand what is legal or illegal? No, they follow the orders of the president. That's what they're instructed to do. And follow it to the death. It's pretty serious business. But these, oh my God, these morons. So the first thing, let's get a little audio here of the video that was made by the Democrats telling them that the military indeed does not have to obey the president if they deem his orders to be illegal. This was the original video that was put out.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals.
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
But from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
you must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
The Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
I swear to you, if Donald Trump was a fraction of the evil dictator they profess him to be, they would all have already been put against the wall and dispatched. That's what a dictator would do to people in their government that are instructing members of the military to be seditious and traitorous. You take them out to a dark, cold brick wall in the dead of night, like Stalin, and you dispatch them. They're no longer your problem. They're not allowed to then go on propaganda against you, against the dictator leadership, allowed to go on these propaganda media networks and continue to defend this sedition. What a lousy, tyrannical dictator Donald Trump is. I will say that every day. When they call him a dictator, I will say, boy, what a lousy dictator this guy is, because he's not doing the job like the real dictators did back in the old days. How do you think saying that, putting that message out of nowhere, there's been no illegal orders given to the military. How do you just put that out and think when Trump says something back that he is being unreasonable? All he said was, and here it is, this is really bad and dangerous for our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors. Lock them up. And then another post, he said, seditious behavior punishable by death. We'll talk. We'll take your calls and discuss this. Are they seditious, traitorous, or is Donald Trump being inappropriate by saying that those crimes are indeed punishable by death in this country? Back in a moment. We're talking about this sedition, treason by a few Democrats that decided to put out a video letting the military of this country know that, hey, if you don't like the orders, you think they're illegal somehow, even though there's no proof or even an inkling, not even an inkling, my friends, that Trump has been giving the military illegal orders. We have Senator Mark Kelly, one of these seditious people, and he doubles down on this statement, on this video, on one of these terrible propaganda news shows. So let's listen to Mark Kelly maybe clear this up a bit.
Yeah, they would be violating their oath if they followed illegal orders.
And I guess, Senator, members of the military, what is your advice to them if they come across something that seems confusing?
I think they need to talk to their leadership. Talk to their commanding officer about it, and tell your commanding officer why you think this may be illegal. There are lawyers within the military, the Judge Advocate General Corps. You can have a conversation, with somebody who understands the law. There's always the option of you review the UCMJ with your leadership and you explain to somebody why you think this may not be lawful.
All right. Oh, my God. Look, I've never been in the military. Thank you for your service. My brother was 82nd Airborne. I know many people that have been in the military. I've done a lot of research and learned a lot of history of the military. I can't imagine a soldier would spend another day in the military after doing something like that. Yeah, I think that order was illegal. Let me go up to the upper echelon, my supervisors, my brass, and tell them, yeah, I'm not going to do this because I think it's illegal. What a great way to completely destroy your political or your military career. What a great way to do that. You think you'd have any place within the military being a problem like that, especially in the Trump administration, where they want to get back to the old way of doing things in the military, the ways that worked. Discipline, men, training. None of this nonsense where transgender people get free surgery if they're in the military, wearing lipstick and wigs on the decks of military vessels. That's done. That's gone. Now you're going to go to your commanding officer and say, yeah, I didn't like that order. I don't think I'm going to be part of that. All right. Well, here's a bus to Leavenworth, if that's still where they send them, Leavenworth. But could you just imagine a soldier doing that? They're doing a grave disservice to the people that have gone into the military that might not be the brightest person. And they're influenced by these liberals and some of these politicians, and they're driven to make one of the biggest mistakes of their lives. You know, I don't think anything's going to happen to these politicians like Mark Kelly or anyone else that was involved in this video, this seditious video. But the poor soldiers, maybe, guy is like, yeah, I got nothing going on. I'm going to join the military. I hear you could make a pretty good career out of that. And then he's watching Mark Kelly, and he goes, oh, that's the spaceman guy. He was up in space. He's a smart guy. And he doesn't realize maybe the Van Allen radiation belt went right through his head. And he's an idiot, and he's listening to this guy and goes, hey, I think that order's illegal. Maybe I should go to my commanding officer. And there you are, a bus back to Podunk, East Alabama. And your military career, probably the only place somebody, that's a little confused as to what they want to do can make a career for themselves. And these people are screwing their lives up. Nothing's going to happen to Mark Kelly, believe me, or any of the other ones. And I believe there is an element, at least. They always do things that have this plausible deniability nonsense. But there is an element of sedition here. And it is traitorous. And it's underhanded, sneaky. And they knew what they were doing when they did this. This isn't something that, is for the good of the country. I felt I needed to do this, to speak out. This is your basic Benedict Arnold stuff. You were a patriot at one point. I don't care what their military careers were. I don't care that Mark Kelly went up into space. I don't care. Benedict Arnold was a great man for the United States for some time. What have you done lately? Well, you made a traitorous video, and you're trying to influence the military to turn on the president. How much worse does it get than that? How much more traitorous does it get? Members of the United States government trying to influence the military to turn on the president. It's textbook treason. It's movie treason. So how are we supposed to look at it? And then Trump says seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up. Seditious behavior, punishable by death. Hey, isn't seditious behavior punishable by death? That's what they say. So you're admitting to seditious behavior? if you're saying Trump is calling for your death, then you must say, well, I'm a seditious and traitorous person. If not, you don't have to worry, right? All right. Back in moments with your calls. Everyone loves when I talk about our good friend Steven Singer. Hey, it's Anthony Cumia here. I've been telling you about Steven, the I Hate Steven Singer guy, for decades. If you haven't heard yet, Steven Singer Jewelers was named one of America's leading jewelers. There are almost 18,000 jewelers in America, and less than 50 jewelers have received this wonderful honor. Just another reason why other jewelers hate him. They hate Steven Singer. Steven's a jeweler you can trust. He has the best guarantees, the best warranties, and all at the perfect price 365 days a year. Steven always has the best value on real diamond jewelry. No phony sales, no fake discounts or pricing games, no nonsense ever. Just easy and fun. That's why he's considered one of the most trusted jewelers in America. No one does diamonds better. Experience the difference at Steven Singer Jewelers. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. And I was just scrolling and I see another Mark Kelly statement here that he's made. We are going to fight for the Constitution. We're not giving up. Trump is not going to intimidate me or make me back down. What we did was patriotic. There's nothing more patriotic than standing up for the rule of law and the Constitution. The Constitution? You mean the document that spells out how the president has power as commander-in-chief over the military? You come up with this loose-fitting thing about illegal orders without even an example of one of these orders? Maybe Eric from Orlando knows what one of these orders are. Eric, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Anthony? Hopefully you're going to have a good Thanksgiving this coming week.
Yes.
Now, I have a hypothetical situation. Now, I've been watching some movies this weekend, some classics like, Platoon and, Schindler's List. Now, let's just say hypothetically this happened, and I don't think Trump's going to do this, but let's just say if the president gave, some kind of orders down to a general or someone that's your commanding officer says, torch this village or kill a bunch of innocent women and children, right. Would that be considered maybe an illegal order? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm kind of curious.
Something like that. What was there? My Lai in Vietnam, where they went through that village and just killed innocent women and children. And I think Lieutenant Calley is the only guy that was even up on charges, and they really didn't do anything to him. But that was indeed illegal. But it wasn't an order given by the president, at least that we know of. Who knows? Maybe right. Johnson was saying, go in there and just wreak havoc on innocent people. But I don't think so. Disobeying an order from your commanding officer in the battlefield, if it's a lieutenant or a captain or a major, is different than disobeying the president of the United States.
No, what I mean is, let's say if it was handed down from the president to go to that commanding officer who gave the order.
Right.
That's what I'm just curious. I mean, it's something that almost never happens. I'm just saying that's the only thing I could think of that would be, quote, as illegal as it gets. But other than that, not really. I mean, that's the only thing I can really think of in only situation. Yeah.
They have not come up with a scenario yet where Donald Trump has done something illegal. I mean,
because I'm still waiting for that, too, because there hasn't been nothing yet.
You look at these bombings, the strikes that they're doing on these drug boats. You can't equate that with something Obama did or both of the Bushes did, where they were doing preemptive strikes on terrorists. What's the difference? If you see a threat against this country, whether it's terrorism or drugs that are quite literally, you don't even have to really tweak it that much and go, well, this terrorist organization is killing people in this state or this country, and it affects Americans. This is literally affecting Americans. Young American kids, they're dying because of these drugs. So to do something about it, anything, I don't think it'll be effective. I'm not even saying it's going to be effective. I don't think it's going to be effective. But do something about it. Try anything. And him striking these boats is no different than when Obama blew up an American citizen because he was part of Al Qaeda or ISIS or whatever it was. So if Trump is doing
basically, with all those and like all these boats coming out of Venezuela, do you think some average person from Venezuela is driving one of those boats? They're more poorer than church mice, for crying out loud. They're not driving a speedboat.
Those poor bastards just getting blown out of the water. All right, Eric, thank you, my friend. Pleasure
Thank you, Anthony.
To chit-chat with you there. There's another clip here. This would be Governor Pritzker. Oh, boy, he's been in the news of late. Illinois, Chicago is just I have so much stuff on Chicago here. A very Chicago Christmas that we saw happen over the weekend. We got a little bit of that and what have you. But Illinois Governor Pritzker, he had to get his fat gut into the mix talking about this Democrat treasonous video that was put out. Let's hear what Illinois Governor Pritzker had to say.
Remember what they were asking. They were telling troops, follow the law. And who's responding negatively to that? The 34-time convicted felon in the White House. Right. And so when he attacks people, it's often because he knows that what he is doing is wrong. And so he wants to make it seem like someone who is saying something negative about him is the wrongdoer. He's the one. And he says these things because he wants to deflect from what he's often asked people to do in government, people who are serving the public to do, which is to do things that are illegal. We saw that time and time again, and frankly, you still see it in the city of Chicago with ICE and CBP. And so that's the kind of thing that certainly people who have served their country, veterans that are serving now in Congress, have an absolute right. And these are decent, honorable people. They have an absolute right to stand up and say to everyone, follow the law. That's all they were saying to the troops of the United States.
Imagine twisting reality around like that, you fat bastard. Twisting reality. Just all they're saying is, follow the law. You mean the law, the Constitution that says that the president is commander-in-chief of the military and he is the word on what the military does? They weren't saying follow the law. Show me that video. Hey, we want the soldiers to follow the law. You're under the President Donald Trump, his administration, and you soldiers, we want you to follow the law. All right. That sounds reasonable. Any soldier would go, yeah, of course. That's what we do. Saying don't obey orders if you deem them illegal is something so different than follow the law. Follow the law. And like I was saying earlier, talking about the traffic stops, if you get stopped by a cop, as the driver, if someone told you follow the law, you would adhere to everything and comply with everything the officer's telling you. That's what you do. If you think giving your license to the officer is somehow an infringement on your rights, and you tell the cop, I don't have to give you my ID, I know my rights, that's not following the law. You might think in some weird delusional way that you don't have to do that, that it's against the law for the cop to ask you to give your license, or even stepping out of the vehicle. That's a thing that I've seen many times that a lot of people think is illegal. You can't ask me to get out of the vehicle. And then they go, Pennsylvania versus Mims. You can absolutely ask, since the 70s, a cop can order you out of your vehicle during a traffic stop. And people absolutely believe that this is illegal. No, I'm not getting out. You can't tell me to get out of my car. So they sit there until they're under arrest. That's what thinking something is illegal when it's not will do to you. And if someone told you that you don't have to listen to a cop if he's giving you an illegal order, and you believe that getting out of the vehicle is an illegal order, well, you're going to jail. If someone tells you obey the law, well, you're going to step out of the vehicle when the officer asks you to. They're two different things. So Pritzker trying to lighten this up a little, trying to spackle over it a little bit and say that this is just them saying, hey, obey the law. Liar. Big fat liar. Liar, liar, giant effing pants on fire. Can we at least see that? But that's what they do. That's what they do. They honestly believe this stuff, and then when it comes out and the American people go, oh, boy, you are traitorous, seditious a-holes, then they got to start backpedaling a little bit. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't this. Liar. Kevin, Long Beach, New York. What's up, man?
Hey, Ann, how are you? Yeah. Pritzker, you're also an insurrectionist for having a statutory cities in your state and not following federal law. And this comes from a guy that had a Christmas tree lighting and 3 people were shot and another woman set on fire on his trains. It's comical. It really is.
If it wasn't so tragic, it would be. It's just this comedy of errors and incompetence that's going on, and these people hold their jobs. I don't know what happened. Judges, we've been talking a lot about these judges that are making these decisions that are absolutely getting American citizens murdered, maimed, and they keep their bench, they keep their seat on the bench. I don't understand it.
Job for life, like that guy Boasberg that keeps getting in now. He's trying to stop the whole Comey thing. I mean, he's unbelievable. They got to impeach him. Congress can impeach him.
Yet they
what
don't.
What are they waiting for?
They don't.
I know.
I don't know what it would take to get rid of that Chicago judge that freed that murderous, violent arsonist that burnt that beautiful young woman. But whatever it takes, I would assume that people would be in her office the same day, dragging her out of her office. And that's at the very least getting her off the bench. The other thing is now arresting her, indicting her for gross negligence of duties that resulted in someone's death or bodily harm of another human. She should absolutely be held liable for that. But no, she'll sit there. She'll make more crappy decisions that'll get more innocent Americans killed. I'm disgusted by it. Yeah.
And some of them are not even judges. They're like magistrates.
Yep.
Who didn't even go to law school, and they have that kind of power. I mean, it's just insane. And by the way, Obama, I think, did a few drone hits that killed a couple of Americans a long time ago. But
that's what.
And they're just getting crazy. And this guy Kelly, look up his bills and look at what he's introduced bill-wise and everything for Arizona. Nothing.
Nah, he's garbage. He's garbage. They
Nothing.
try to paint him as
He's in office because his wife got shot.
Yeah. This is an all-American hero, like he's John Glenn, or something, because he was an astronaut.
He's no John Glenn.
He's an ass. He's an ass.
Yes,
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate the call. Yeah. All these guys, they just keep their jobs. They get in. New York, you know what I'm talking about. Chuck Schumer. They keep voting him in. He's an idiot. AOC, she's in for life now. There's nothing AOC is going to do that's going to get her thrown out. They like her. She's cute. She's got those big... And they'll just keep voting for her. That'll just keep happening over and over again. They hold these jobs for life. They make a fortune as public servants. That's my... I love watching that one. When one of these idiots are forced to retire because their like feet fell off or their brain is literally oozed out of their ears and they have to retire, like Pelosi. They're given these tributes by other politicians and the propaganda news media about how they sacrificed and gave of themselves for the country, the selflessness. They cared so much. And then you look at the bottom line and go, how the hell did they make $100 million being so generous with their lives, giving of themselves, the sacrifice? Who's buying this nonsense anymore? Who's buying this crap? That's why they never leave. Anyone would be tired of giving so much. Trust me. I think even Mother Teresa at some point had to shut herself in her hut and go, oh, damn, these people are annoying. But they stay in there forever because it's such a lucrative gig for themselves, generational wealth for their families. You know, the whole government thing was supposed to be just a farmer and a mason and a blacksmith. Every so often they'd go off to their capital city of the state and tell the government up in their capital, the people in charge up there, what their concerns were for the people in their town, in their communities. A representative. And then those politicians would represent the state and go to Washington and they never stopped being the farmers and blacksmiths. They would do their duty, do their make that sacrifice of their time and efforts, and then they'd go back to being a farmer or a cooper, if you will, if barrels need to be made. It wasn't supposed to be a lifetime appointment. And they've just taken this because it's so lucrative. Their families, for generations, will live off of the wealth and power that the likes of the Bush family and the Bidens and all the Clintons, they're all set forever. Their entire family for decade upon decade, if not a century, is set. They're just going to leave and go back to being whatever they were, whatever that was. I don't even know. Jimmy Carter, a piece of garbage president, but he's the only one that did it like it was supposed to be done. The guy was a peanut farmer. He's the president, albeit a lousy one. And when he was done, he goes back to Plains, Georgia to grow peanuts and build houses for poor people. I don't know what Jimmy Carter's net worth was when he died, but I'm certain it didn't look anything like Nancy Pelosi's, the stock maven, who just seems to somehow know every move corporations are going to make. She knows every regulation that's going to be put in place that might affect a company. And she just, her husband, I guess, without even her telling him, through telepathy, figures out what stock to buy. And they have hundreds of millions of dollars. And she walks around free as a bird. That woman should be in prison. In prison. And she's not the only one. We know that. Things got to change. And Trump saying that that is sedition, treason, and that if you did commit sedition and treason in this country, it's punishable by death. Maybe we ought to consider some of that. Take it a little more seriously than just reading it on some paper and start holding some of these people responsible for being traitorous to this country. All right, we'll be back in moments. Don't go anywhere. The Anthony Cumia Show continues. Politicians, whether they're treasonous or involved in sedition, they're not doing what is in this country's best interest. That's for sure. And some accountability is really needed. Real accountability. I don't think it's ever happened. Well, you going to bring up Nixon and Watergate? Is that the last time? Sometimes they'll nail one of these people on a corruption charge, or maybe one of those sex things. You know, who was that guy running for president years ago? He was on that boat, the Monkey Business. Hey, Monkey Business. Jerry. What was his name? I can't remember. They trip over their own manhood on their way to the White House. Whoops-a-daisy, tripped over my own thing. And, sometimes they get that. They say the two worst things for a politician are a dead girl or a live boy. Yeah, you don't want that. But a lot of these politicians are in it for themselves. They're also in it for an agenda. And Chicago is this mayor, Brandon Johnson in Chicago, and of course Governor Pritzker are just destroying Chicago. It's the cut off your nose to spite your face syndrome. They do not want to make it seem like Donald Trump knows what he's talking about when it comes to doing something about crime in Chicago. Do you really think the National Guard would be detrimental in at least certain parts of Chicago? And as we saw this weekend, it's not just the impoverished or crime-ridden minority areas of Chicago. This weekend, it was the big tree lighting in Chicago. And they lit it up all right. A couple of shootings. Some people dead, a lot of them wounded. And what are you going to do about it? Brandon Johnson, he got out there and gave a little speech. And was anything in his speech gonna help the situation? Did he really address the problems and say we need to do something about this, and I'm going to implement this? This is the same guy that took down a shot spotter, that decided that the money going to the shot spotter program, this was a program where up on light poles around the city were microphones. And if there was a gunshot, these various microphones could triangulate and then tell the police exactly where the gunshot was fired from. And they could react. In some instances, they've reacted within seconds to where this gunshot was. He decided this program wasn't worthwhile. Wasn't worth the money. The same guy that's paying gang members to be violence interrupters in the city, and a couple of them have already been arrested because they're in cahoots with the gangs. They're paying them your tax money, and they're using that money to bolster the drugs and weapons and whatnot for these gangs. So, again, the politicians that are doing nothing for the people that are actually trying to live lives. They're paying money into the system, and they're just getting screwed by people like Brandon Johnson. Let's listen to Brandon Johnson's comments after the Christmas celebration shooting.
Incidents like last night set us back as a city, and it evokes fear. Our young people have to understand that they should not attend these unauthorized events that have been advertised on social media. Events. They are extremely dangerous due to the number of individuals that may be carrying weapons, and as much progress as we have made, there are still far too many guns on our streets. For these young people who have engaged in these incidents, you have put yourselves and your friends at risk. Because of the reckless behavior of a few individuals, we have families devastated, and our downtown residents are hesitant to leave their own homes. I'm the first person to recognize that we have more work to do in this city to provide safe spaces for our young people. But these type of violent gatherings can never be an alternative, nor can they be normalized. We need parents, guardians, and other responsible adults to do their best to accompany young people in large, unsanctioned gatherings where weapons are likely to be present. There's always more we as adults can do to make sure that we know where our kids are and what they are doing. I recognize this feels like emotional whiplash. After this incredible celebration last night where thousands of people gathered, Chicagoans who were enjoying our tree lighting ceremony expressed their love for our city. It was peaceful. It was a joyous evening, a vision of
right up
the
till
best
the gunfire.
Of Chicago. The holiday season is a time when we come together as a city. It's when we spend time with our family.
All right, we'll get back to him in a little bit. We got to take a quick break, but I mean, these are violent gang members. He's talking about them like it's Wally and the Beaver and Eddie Haskell. These are violent gang members that need to be treated as such, and he just will not do it. Back in a moment.